Hi everyone, I'm Catherine, the artist behind Bigelow Fine Arts. I'm continuing my journey through the Enchanted Forest on this lovely spring day following the map and directions. I see many wonderful sights and an owl peeking down at me as I follow this meandering trail through the forest. Come join me on my journey through the Enchanted Forest to discover the mystery that awaits in the castle at the center. Today is another beginner lesson since the first one I did was pretty popular and there were comments for more. So here is another one. I'm coming in with the light cadmium red to add in a layer at the base of this first set of petals on this sunflower-like flower. This page may not look beginner-friendly, but every page can be made beginner-friendly. I believe in you, and I know you can do this. So if you have to, grab a sheet of paper and cut a hole to block out the noise. Today we are focusing just on these sunflowers. When working with polychromos, I like to work in light layers and blend layer over layer to get a really rich color. The benefits are that I am not pressing hard on the paper with the pencil, so I am reducing hand and wrist strain. I am also not gouging into the paper. These are hard pencils, so light layers and many layers are my preferred technique. If I want a depth of color, I simply add more layers. With the light chrome yellow, I am adding in a light layer to the outer edge of the petals. Generally, for these small areas, I like to pick 3 colors, a light, medium, and dark that work together and layer them up to blend into a gradient. As I have the dark in the center, I put the light color on the edge. And finally, with the dark cadmium yellow, I blend in a layer overlapping the 2 colors to create a smooth gradient from dark to light. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It helps keep you informed of when I post new videos, as well as join in on the color-alongs. I have palettes and timestamps in a Patreon post, so go check that out if you want the whole list of colors. Subscribing is the best way to keep up with the color-alongs. I now want to add in some shadows in the spaces between the petals, so I'm filling in those gaps with sepia. This is my favorite pencil for shading, and I use it everywhere I think there should be a shadow. Moving on, I go back to the light cadmium red, and I begin on the second row of petals, working up the base of the petals with several light layers of this light red. I like to work in small circles to get a smooth fill, which isn't always the best. Moving on to the edge of the petals, I want to come in with the light chrome yellow and put in a light layer and fill in the remainder of the petals. Since my layers are light, it doesn't matter if I fill in just the tips or the whole petal. I can easily add in more layers over top. Now to blend the colors together, I come in with the dark cadmium yellow between the tip and blend that down to the center. I want to leave the tip pure chrome yellow. Now that I have all my colors in place, I want to go back through and lightly add in more layers to blend the colors better, as well as fill in the paper and make sure I have a smooth gradient. I come in with the light chrome yellow and blend that in on top to fill in the paper even more and blend the colors together. Polychromos are not a smushy pencil, so the pigment won't move around much as I blend with the chrome yellow on top. This just fills in the paper more and blends with the colors underneath. For my shadows, I am again coming in with the sepia and adding them to the base of the petals, where one layer would be overlapping the back set of petals. I also add in a shadow cast from the leaf onto the flower. And I go over the center part of the flower with the sepia to begin filling it in. But if you notice, I use the sepia over any color to form a shadow. I add in a layer of nougat to the center to continue filling in the center with more color. I add in more layers over the shadow area. I come in with Bistre to blend in over top the other colors, again adding in more layers over the shadows. And to darken up the shadows a little more, I come back in with sepia and give it another few layers. On to the next flower, and I am starting with a layer of light cadmium red over the base of all of the petals. I am using little circles to fill in the area, which helps prevent harsh lines. I want to add in more layers at the base of the petal where it will naturally be darker and feather the color lightly out about halfway. Next, I come in with the light chrome yellow and fill in the whole petal, blending into the red at the base. I go back and add in another layer to make sure everything is filled in. Then I fill in the outline since I want this to be the same color as the outer edge of the petals. With the dark cadmium yellow, I am blending the red with the chrome yellow, filling in the center of the petal to the base of the petal. This will help make for a smoother gradient. And I know it looks like the red got washed out. It did. So I am coming back in with the light cadmium red and adding in more layers to make the red stand out more and smooth out the gradient more. Time for shadows, and I am coming in with sepia and getting them in place at the base of the petals and where the one flower overlaps this flower. If you've made it this far and have enjoyed coloring along with me or just watching this page come to life, I'd appreciate it if you give me a like and subscribe to stay informed of when I post more videos. It really helps me out. Check out my blog posts on Patreon. I have a short write-up, my palettes, and a list of the chapter breaks, and they're available for everyone. If you have any questions or page requests, please leave them below or reach out to me on social media. I put a list of chapter breaks in the show notes, as well as a list of equipment I like to use. If you use any of my affiliate links, it really helps me out without costing you a thing. I post 3 times during the week, and subscribing is the best way to stay in the loop. I come in with nougat and will fill in the whole center of the flower using circular motions to get a smoother fill. Also, since I am assuming this to be a sunflower, if I leave circular texture on the center, it will just fade in like seed impressions. I come in and add a layer of bistre to blend things together a little and fill in the paper more. I add more layers at the edges where the shadows are to give the center the impression of popping up from the petals. I bring in some walnut brown to darken the edges more and really give it more of that three-dimensional appearance that the sides are dropping down into the petals. This adds to the sepia, and they work together to bring the contrast up where the shadows are. The last flower for today, and I hope you've been following along. This one will go slightly faster, but it all works up the same. I come in with the light cadmium red and add in a layer to the base of the inner petals. I then come in with the light chrome yellow and fill in the rest of the petal in a smooth layer. With the dark cadmium yellow, I want to fill in the base and go about halfway up to blend the red into the light yellow. I add in sepia to the gaps between petals to give the appearance of shadows. And now I can come back in and add more light cadmium red to the base to make the color stand out a little more. Blend that with more dark cadmium yellow. And now on to the second row of petals, where I add in the light cadmium red to the base of all of the petals. I know the colors look a little dull, but trust the colors you have down on the paper. The camera seems to wash out the colors a little. I am now filling in the rest of the petals with light chrome yellow. I want to make sure I am keeping a light hand, but filling in the petal completely. I blend the red and light yellow together with the dark cadmium yellow. I want to keep the tips of the petals pure yellow. I come back in with the light cadmium red and darken up the base of the petals a little more, since the color does get lost in the previous layers because I am keeping such a light hand. I'd rather get more layers to get the effect and gradient I want than to struggle to smooth out color after putting down too much. For the shadows, I use sepia and add them in at the base of the petals and down in between the petals as best I can. I add a shadow from the leaf hanging over the flower, then I fill in the center with nougat. The sepia stood out until I added in the nougat. I darken the sepia with more layers of nougat to help keep the contrast up. I also want to blend at the edges a little so it isn't a line of color. I add in some bistre, blending and filling in the paper. I come in with walnut brown to bring up the contrast, which darkens the shadows and makes the lights look lighter. I touch up with more sepia. Then I blend in more nougat on top to smooth out the gradient more. I add in more bistre to fill in the paper more, and that is it. Thanks for joining me on this adventure today. Let me know below or on social media if you colored along. I'd love to know how you did. I believe in you and I know you can do this. I want to thank you all so much for coming along and joining in with me on this coloring journey. I appreciate all my subscribers and look forward to more of you joining in and coloring along with me. Please like, share, and subscribe to help that happen. Until next time, happy coloring.